So this is their last film in the science fiction unit, Inception, directed by Christopher Nolan. Um, I'm sure some of you guys know his name. He's one of the biggest directors of Hollywood today. He did this. He did the Dark Knight trilogy, Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, The Dark Knight Rises. He did Interstellar, another really good sci-fi movie from a couple of years ago. Dunkirk, did the Dunkirk movie. He's done a ton. Tenet, some of his early stuff. The Prestige is really good. So he's a director that's went back a long time, for the last 20 years or so. He's still one of the biggest blockbuster directors in Hollywood today. And if you guys know any of I'm sure some of you guys have seen the Batman movies at least. Any of you guys heard of any of those movies I just spouted off?
I've heard of them. I haven't watched the Batman movies or anything, but definitely popular movies.
Right. How many of you guys in here seen some of the Batman movies he did? The Dark Knight, Batman Begins.
I love the Batman movies.
Yeah, he's The Dark Knight is said to be the best comic book movie of all time. That's debatable, but I actually prefer the Jack Nicholson Joker to the Heath Ledger one. But that's just a matter of personal taste. But Interstellar is a really good film too. That's one with Matthew McConaughey. He travels to a different galaxy, and there's all kinds of like weird science stuff in it. It's if you guys like science and physics and stuff, you would like that movie. I've taught that one in this class before. But Nolan's known for a lot of interesting techniques. One thing that he is arguably guilty of that he definitely doesn't have subtlety much in his movies. There's always lots of exposition, lots of dialogue. Whether you think the dialogue is good or not, it's a different story. But there's lots of exposition in place of visual storytelling in his movies. That's probably my biggest critique of him. But he's not trying to be Hitchcock here, right? He's trying to sell movies to the masses. And but this movie came out in 2010, and this came out in between The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. It was a nice side project for him in the middle. And it since became a bit of a sci-fi classic as far as its popularity and its reputation that has held up pretty well. As we all know, some of the actors in the movie, Leonardo DiCaprio. Do I need I say more about Leonardo DiCaprio, right? Yeah, he's been in tons of stuff, Titanic, The Revenant, countless movies. He also likes to date 18-year-olds. As soon as they turn 19, he breaks up with them, right? He's like 50 now. But yeah, there's lots of memes on the internet about that. But you also have a bunch of other really good actors here. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's in it. Tom Hardy's in it. Tom Hardy's really big now. He plays Venom and Mad Max. We also have, she was Ellen Page then, but she since, Ellen has since transitioned gender, so now Ellie Page. She, Elliot Page is in the movie too. Does a really good job. So quite a robust cast, and quite an interesting premise to the movie. This is about dreams and layers of dreams. And can you plant a seed in somebody's subconscious mind? And so quite an interesting premise. The movie asks big, deep philosophical questions. Is our reality real? Are we living in a dream? This is a big philosophy question that goes way back to as far back as philosophy goes for me. But this really stumped philosophers in the Middle Ages, this question: how do we know reality is real? Right? How do we know we're not just living in a dream? Rene Descartes famously quits, "I think, therefore I am." Right? That was his rebuttal to the suggestion that reality isn't real. He said, "I think, therefore I am." But it's a big question. Like, how do we know this? How do we know what's real and what's not? Because dreams, when we dream, they feel real. And the movie leaves us on a bit of a cliffhanger because we think it ends happily. We think that Leonardo DiCaprio's character makes it out of the dream, but then the little top is spinning at the end of the movie, leaving it up for suggestion that perhaps he's still in a dream. His wife in the movie, we find out, his wife Mel, we find out, killed herself, right, because she thought that she was still in a dream, and she thought that if she did that, she would wake up to reality. And the end of the movie kind of leaves it up in the air. Was she right? So it's a bit of a fun movie in that regard. Let me ask you guys this: what was your thoughts, feelings on Inception? I know I didn't have you guys do a discussion post today. Mostly didn't have you do it because I needed to rewatch the movie myself. It had been a few years. But let's start. Who, I see you unmuted there, Holly. What do you think?
Yeah, I liked it a lot more than I thought I would, because it was really confusing at first, but once you kind of got used to the fact that the movie was going to be confusing the whole way through and it was going to jump around a lot, then you kind of appreciate it for what it is.
You just kind of went on the roller coaster ride. Yeah, go ahead, Zoe.
I thought it was a very good movie. It's actually my favorite movie we've watched so far. But
Oh,
the
yeah?
ending, but the ending has it's confusing. So like, was he dreaming or was it real? Because the top was still spinning.
What's your hunch on that question, Zoe?
Oh my God, I don't know. I even Googled it and I'm so curious about it. I feel like it was a dream, but I hoped it was real. Like it was still like in a dream. I don't know though. I agree with Holly. Like it was a confusing movie, but it was so good. What do you think? Do you think he was dreaming or it was real?
I'm hesitant to answer that.
Mm.
You can definitely take it either way. it would be kind of a big gut. It would be kind of a big gut punch if it was in fact a dream. My hunch, I'll tell you what my hunch is. My hunch is I do think he was still in a dream. I think she was right. Reason why I say that is when they show the children at the end, they show the same, like the children are kind of depicted like as being almost like dream-alike right there. Like they look a little too perfect, if that makes sense. So I don't know if that makes sense here. That's my reasons at least for as why.
Okay, I understand that. That makes a lot of sense. And I watched this movie, I think it was Saturday, so I'm forgetting a little bit. But at the beginning, like the very beginning, when he like wakes up on that beach and he's like dreaming, seeing his children on the beach. And at the end, what wasn't they wearing the same clothes too?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think he was still dreaming. Yeah.
And of course, we know that that pop was her indicator that they kind of ground herself in reality. What was his totem? I'm not sure what, if he used that or if he used something else. Yeah, it
I,
does.
ne-
Or go ahead, Jennifer.
I never realized they were wearing the same clothes. So that's a big one. I just went with because the top was still spinning, but yeah, I figured it was a dream too.
Yeah, they're always shown like outside in the backyard, like every single time you see the kids in the movie. Um, maybe they like to go outside, right? But yeah, every time we see them in the movie, they're always out in like the backyard wearing the same clothes. So that's my hypothesis. I'm not saying I'm right, but that's some visual cues that we have to suggest maybe it was. What some of the rest of y'all think about just the movie in general, or maybe the ending? What some of the rest of y'all? What was some of the rest of you guys' hot takes? You know, you can't escape me, Daryl. Where you at?
I'm here. I think that when it comes to the movie, I think that I mentioned this before, but I have watched it before. I do like this movie. I think the concept's really cool. When it comes to the ending, I mentioned it in a class before too. It's one of those things that's the reality versus imaginary, and I can see both sides. You're right. The kids are in the same clothes. They're always in that backyard, and in his memory, he hasn't seen them in like 10 years or more, and they still look exactly the same when he goes there. But the people within dreams are supposed to be sort of NPC like. They walk around, they do simple tasks, and whenever he wakes up, it doesn't explain how he woke up. It just sort of happens. That makes me think he's still in the dream. But the people on the plane, they all seem very relieved. They're not doing NPC types of things like staring at him. His dad hugs him when he's walking out of the airport, and I feel like an airplane in general would be hard to simulate in the mind. So it's really hard to tell. It looks like the top wavers a bit and looks like it's going to fall right as it cuts. I feel like if we got one more second to watch it, we would know the answer. But it's just so hard to tell with the way that they filmed it, and I think that they nailed it perfectly. I really just wish that somebody, the director, would just sort of come out and say, "Look, it's been 20 years. I think I'm just going to go ahead and tell y'all this was a dream or this was real," and I feel like that would be really nice if it ever happens.
Yeah.
There's always the possibility that the plane scene was real and him meeting his dad or father, the kid's grandpa in the airport, that was real too. But there's this period of time we don't see where he's driving home and he could have fallen asleep in the car. I mean, who's to say?
Right. Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if you'll ever get those answers out of them, Daryl. Usually directors are pretty mum on those things. Um, they usually don't like to give you closure.
You're probably right. It's mostly just wishful thinking. You know, like some very few directors do it. Like there's that one show, My Name Is Earl, that got canceled after its last season. Well, it was going to have one more season, and they're like, well, we can't make the show anymore. We're just going to go ahead and say how the last season would have went, and it gave people closure. This movie's been out for a long time, so I don't think they'll ever revisit it. But it would be really cool if like someone just takes them into an interview, this director, and then they ask him about it and he just says it, or maybe he just, maybe it will never be continued. I would just really like the closure and him explain why it looked the way it did, how he executed it so well. I just think it'd be a really cool thing to see someday, even if it's really unlikely.
Yeah, lots of times you will see, whether it's an author or a movie director, you'll see them go back and ask them questions like this, and they'll just zip their lips and tell you it's up for you to interpret. So artists, what can we say about them? I'm not an artist, so I don't have an ounce of creativity in my body. Jacob, I see you're there. What do you think about this? Do you think it was real at the end? What was your take?
I feel like it could go either way, really. I just wish the extra, 2 seconds would have been nice on the end. I watched it a while back with friends, and I remember having the idea that it was real, but I don't really remember why I thought that. I thought it was really cool how you can go in different stages of a dream. I thought it's one of those movies you really got to put your head into it. Like, you really got to think of it, or else you're like completely confused. The fight scene with the gravity switching and all that stuff, that was awesome. I love that. All in all, I thought it was a good movie. I really liked how they did the fight scene. It really messed with my head. That's about it. All I got to say, really, for it.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. That fight scene was pretty cool. How they pulled that off, I don't know the secret, but
Had to have had some, I don't know, some wiring to them or something crazy like that. Zero gravity, or like one of those machines.
yeah,
I think.
Yeah, invisible wires.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely some impressive action directing there to show all that. And then he had to tie them all up so they can fall. How do you make somebody fall with zero gravity? Right. So yeah, that was all pretty neat stuff. Even some of the other scenes you see, like the train in the first stream that runs through the middle of the street.
I feel like eventually, even if he okay, at the end, I feel like regardless, he would come back to reality and think, hey, maybe I'm in a dream. Because I feel like eventually he would figure out if he was in a dream or not with that little thing. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Either way, he would be able to tell if he was in a dream or not, because he'd have a lifetime to figure it out or realize it.
Right. Yeah. So maybe eventually he would find his way back. Yeah.
Perhaps, yeah.
Yeah, he supposedly found his way back from limbo. Like when you're killed in the dream, when you're deeply sedated, you go to limbo. He's already found his way back from that once. So twice actually, so at the end of the movie. So who's to say he wouldn't? It's that old question that we talked about with Vertigo, right? Perception versus reality. You guys remember from Vertigo, Scotty wanted to see Madeline and Judy, right? But and he saw what he wanted to see. So maybe it's a similar type of theme going on here, perhaps. He desperately wants to see his kids again, and perhaps his desire is affecting his perception in some way. This is a pretty big question, just philosophically speaking, right? Like you can go into metaphysics and argue this stuff all day about whether a reality is real, even us, right? Whether it's real, whether are we all living in a simulation like the Matrix? I originally had the Matrix on the syllabus. Are we all living in a simulation like the Matrix? Are we all sort of video game characters walking around? Yeah, you kind of mentioned that a minute ago, Daryl. NPCs, right? You could drive yourself crazy thinking about this stuff. Maybe you need to be smoking some grass while you do think about this stuff, right? That's probably the best. That's probably the best strategy. This is the type of stuff you think about when you're doing that. There's lots of movies that have been playing on this. Like even a couple of years ago, did any of you guys see that Ryan Reynolds comedy? Free Guy, I think that was the name of it, where he was inside of a video game. Did any of you guys watch that?
I have
Yeah. What do you think of that one, Dale?
always been a big fan of Ryan Reynolds, especially when he plays as himself in a movie. So I was a big fan. I think that video game movies have always had a bit of a drought until this new Sonic one came out, and then now everyone's sort of doing it. There's Borderlands coming out. There's Five Nights at Freddy's. There's a new Mario movie next month. But I think stuff like Pixels and Ready Player One didn't execute it as well as Free Guy did. I think the comedy was pretty good, and I liked how they included a lot of streamers that are famous for playing video games. I think that was a nice touch.
Yeah, I enjoyed. I thought that movie was pretty deep to be a silly comedy like it was. I was actually pretty impressed with it. And so yeah, you could drive yourself crazy thinking about this stuff all day if you wanted to. Yeah, there's lots of interesting stuff going on in the movie in this regard. Yeah, like I mentioned, the train. I mentioned like the way the buildings all come down was pretty cool. I always thought I got a little silly with how it plays with the idea of time in the middle of it. Like the first layer of the dream, time is kind of feels real, but then the further you go down, the slower time goes. It kind of plays with that idea of time a little bit in the movie too. Like, what is time? That's another big philosophy question for you all. What is time? Is time a real thing? Is time just a construct that we come up with in our minds? Yeah, that's a big question. What do you think about Zach, I'm gonna call on you. What do you think about that question? What is time? How would you define time? Is it something real and tangible, or is it something we invented as human beings?
I think time is real and tangible, but there is the relativity is also a thing. Like time is relative, and I think that I don't really know how to really explain, like sort of give like idea to that, but like I think it sort of, in a way, I think it's sort of like a concept invented by us, but at the same time, there is like a matter of fact, time always moves forward. You can't go backwards. You can't really slow it down. But I think there is actually scientific study that it can speed up for some people, but it's like very specific circumstances, like, but it's like sort of interesting how that works. But I don't personally, I don't think you can really argue that it's like a concept made by people, that just the idea of traveling forward in it is sort of maybe possible. But I think it is an objective, just like a truth. It's just like, that's just, it is what it is.
Yeah, if I was going to counter argue you there, Zach, I would point out that like time is something we all agree to. Like we all kind of like have a social contract that we all agree to. Like for instance, a week or two ago, we had daylight savings time. Like why do we flip it back an hour? That's just what we all agree to. Like there's no real other reason other than that. We want to have an extra hour of daylight in our day, so we just happen to flip the switch back. So that would be my counter argument to you, Zach, that maybe it's a concept. How would you respond to that?
I think there's also some merit to the fact that your body actually, your physical body, like really responds to daylight and things, and like certain events throughout the day actually like prepare your body for sleep and stuff. And so I think this sort of our agreement of time also does vary, because you can travel the world and time's different, because for example, it's daytime all the time in like near the poles, and vice versa, probably elsewhere. And so I think what's happening there is we're just sort of giving ourselves a logical reason for our bodies to accept like a different set, like we're basically putting logic behind this idea that we're like, so that our bodies understand, like our minds understand what our bodies want, I think. Because I think our bodies expect to be up during the day and then go to sleep at night. And so if all of a sudden, because the idea of like leap years and stuff is to keep everything in, like to sort of keep everything in time. If we go ahead 10 years later and all of a sudden your schedule is like messed up because the same time that you were awake, suddenly you're waking up in the middle of the night, you'd be very confused. And so I think you're right that it is an agreed concept on like, I guess on the whole planet, but at the same time it would just vary, because I think there's actually a physical connection between your body trying to wake up and sleep according to like light and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's a good argument, Zach. How many of you, to extend Zach's argument, how many of you guys a week or two ago really felt that losing that hour of sleep? Some of you guys wake up that Sunday like, damn it, I lost that hour. Did you guys not feel right after flipping the switch back an hour. I saw you unmute, Flora. Did the time change hit you?
Not really, because I work night shift. So
Mm.
even on my days off, I don't go to sleep until like 10 o'clock in the morning. Also, I wanted to let you know, in case you didn't get my email, that I'm sorry I was late. My baby couldn't breathe and I had to take her to her doctor.
Well, darn, is she okay?
She has bronchiolitis in her right lung and a right ear infection.
Are they gonna put her on breathing treatments or anything?
Yeah, they're giving her antibiotics and breathing treatments.
Well, I hope she gets through it okay,
Yeah, me too.
right? Holly, I saw you was gonna unmute a second ago. What was you gonna say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that for some reason it didn't affect me that much this year. Usually it does me really bad, especially the Monday after the Sunday. But this year I was okay for whatever reason.
I'm getting ready to have to experience this because I'm going to California tomorrow, so I want to get used to the West Coast time over the next week. By the time I see you guys again, I will be trying to get back used to the Eastern time. So I will probably be pretty frazzled after getting 3-hour time difference. That's nothing though compared to going to Europe. It's like a 6 or 7 hour time difference going to England from here. I've never been to Europe yet, but that's a much harder one to get used to. Some of you guys who, Flora, you said you worked night shift that day. Did you get paid that extra hour, Flora?
We, yeah.
Good, good. Because technically you worked another hour that day.
Yeah.
I work night shift, but that means I didn't get paid for the other hour. I got to leave an hour early.
Oh yeah. Yeah, depends what you want out of that, I suppose. Would you have preferred the extra hour or the hour early, Jennifer?
I'd prefer to get off.
Yeah, one measly hour is not going to affect your check in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, I'm glad we're having this debate because Zach is pretty well versed in this. Like he pointed out, the theory of relativity, right? The closer you get, like astronomers today are saying, like Einstein came up with this. But the closer you get to a black hole, time starts to bend and it gets distorted. Like if you are within range of a black hole, what might feel like an hour to you might be 100 years on Earth. So that's physics. That's the theory of relativity. Especially once you get close to something like a black hole, time starts to slow down exponentially, and you start to experience time differently than everyone else. So it's a pretty wild concept to think about. But
How does it, sorry. How does that work though? Like you said, 2 minutes does feel like 100 years on Earth. Like the trees would be so big around, you couldn't wrap your arms around them in 100 years. I mean, there ain't never been like a record of us being that close to a black hole, then have they?
no, the closest ones many galaxies away. That's not something that you can prove through experimentation. I think that's something that he came up with physics.
How close does he say that you got to be for it to affect you?
I think you have to be, if you know about black holes, I think they have an event horizon. And I think the further, the closer you get to that event horizon, the more time starts to slow down and become distorted. Of course, once you go, if you go into a black hole, that's it, right? There's lots of suggestions that, like the movie Interstellar plays with this idea that like you could, this black hole slows down the time the way that it does. Zach, you seem pretty educated on this. Do you think I'm summing this up well, or would you add anything?
I think that was a good summary. I think they say that it's actually not that like big of a time change though. I think it was like something like a minute ends up being like 10 minutes.
Depends how far out you are from the hole.
Yeah, like the closer you are. But they also say that like that would just not, I mean, that's obviously not a realistic thing. But there's actually an alternative, and it's like, again, all this like crazy theory stuff, but it's like if you were to somehow travel at the speed of light and not just like die, then time would actually move like incredibly slow for you compared to everyone else. And I don't know why that is, but they say that like 1 year would be like 100 years or something along that lines if you could stay at that speed. But I don't, again, that's not realistic.
Right. Yeah, we once thought that we couldn't travel the speed of sound, but we did. So probably not within our lifetime, but you never know. I like to be an optimist here.
I know this is totally like off subject, but
Now this whole class is off subject. It's good.
yeah, no, it kind of fits. But there has been debate on whether we went to the moon or not. What do you think?
Yeah, that actually ties in with this class, Jennifer, because there's a conspiracy theory that Stanley Kubrick, who directed 2001: A Space Odyssey, because think about it, it came out about the same time. There's a conspiracy theory that he staged the moon landing for the U.S. government.
Yeah, the more information, like we're so much more advanced than what we were back then. It doesn't add up to me. I don't think that we did.
To think about it, the computers that took people to the moon, the computer in your cell phone is more powerful than that computer that sent people to the moon.
The way I look at it is if they could go back then, what's stopping us from going now? Just like Elon Musk making all them rockets. If it was so easy back then, how ain't he done it 10 times right now?
Well, on the video, they said that they forgot because it got like destroyed and they can't go anymore. But there was also things like how you see the suits that they wear was very, very thin. They wasn't very protected. They would have died going up that far. And not only that, but the flag, how it's waving, if there's no gravity, that couldn't happen either.
I have something to add, and I lean more towards it being real. I don't really, not sure, but the only reason I think that is because Richard Nixon actually had a speech that was made in case they couldn't come back. It was called like the Sapphire speech or something. It was like basically saying that they were brave men and they were great and this and that, but it was made in the idea that if they couldn't come back home. So I don't know how to feel about that.
It'd be pretty neat if they found something out there like aliens or something they didn't want them to come back.
I personally, more than the fake moon landing theory, I like the theory that Neil Armstrong was an alien and we didn't send him to the moon, we sent him back.
I haven't ever heard of that one. That's news to me. Yeah, yeah, that's a good question, Jennifer. Of course, they went back to the moon several times after that first time as well, but you could also make the argument those were fake. So when it comes to conspiracy theories, I tend to distrust them. A lot of people thought the 9/11 wasn't real and it was staged. I was like, I don't know about that. Now, the question of who killed JFK, I'm not convinced. I think there's something deeper going on than what we know. That's my hunch on that one.
If you talk to my brother about the 9/11 one, he'll talk your ear off. He thinks, he says that jet fuel ain't hot enough to melt steel beams. And the only thing that really does make sense is if you watch one of them demolitions, they blow it from the base and then it just falls down like the Twin Towers did. You would think like a fire up top. It wouldn't just collapse all at once like that. So I don't know. I believe, I mean, I know full-heartedly that it happened. But I don't know if they let bombs off at the bottom of it or what happens. I've never seen a building get hit at the top and collapse like that.
Right. Yeah, I've read a lot of student papers in English 101 and stuff over the years for people trying to argue it. I think it's interesting. I'm not convinced though. I'm not convinced. Usually, conspiracy theories are rooted in logical fallacies. That's why I'm usually never too convinced by them. But yeah, tying this all back, right? The movie plays with time in this way because how long do we see that freaking car fall towards the river, right? It falls towards the river for like an hour. The layer below that's the hotel, right? The layer below that's the military base. The layer below that is Leonardo DiCaprio's world. So the movie plays with that idea of relativity. That time moves slower, and even in our dreams, right? When you guys dream, the dream feels a lot longer than what it actually is. Like you don't really feel how long you're sleeping when you're sleeping. So go ahead, Jacob.
Sorry. There's one thing that I don't understand about dreams. It is, so like when you get hurt in a dream, for like somehow your brain knows that you're about to get hurt, and it just makes sense that you get hurt in the dream. Like, let's say you get like punched in the leg, events would like happen to where until you get punched in the leg, like how does your brain like know that it's about to get like punched? You know what I'm talking about? Has that ever happened to you?
How would you guys answer Jacob's question here? Have you guys had experiences like that in dreams? You dream maybe you're gonna fight or you're in a car crash or something like that in a dream.
I've never had anything like fighting or car crashes, but I've had the one where people like feel like they're falling. I can for some reason distinctly remember one dream from when I was little. It was I like had a ramp just going over like a little river, and I just like got in a little go-kart and decided I'm going to jump this. I got about halfway through it, and of course it's not like a huge jump, but for some reason like halfway in the air, my car just like sort of points downwards for no reason, like it just sort of decided no and then started going towards the water. So of course I woke up because I felt like I was falling and was going to fall in the river, and then I just sort of, jerked awake. So it is kind of odd how seeing stuff in a dream can connect to real life, but I've never had a dream where like I was in a fist fight or got shot or anything that I can really remember.
Yeah, I've had dreams before where my body tells me to wake up to go to the bathroom, because like in the dream, like I will go pee or something in the dream, and that jolts me up to get up and go to the bathroom. I don't know if any of you guys have ever had something like that. That happens to me all the time. Yeah, it's hard to remember your dreams though. Like I couldn't tell you what I dreamed last night. Like pretty much as soon as I wake up in the morning, I forget what it was I dreamed about. Are all the rest of you guys like that, or do you some of the rest of you guys tend to remember your dreams?
I seem to remember nightmares. That's about it. But I do know when I'm fist fighting in my dreams, it's like punching through water, like a dead stop when you hit them.
I don't think I really dream because I don't remember anything.
I'm not sure if this is true or not, but I heard one thing on the internet one time. It was like proven by scientists that everybody, like 70-80% of the time, you just never remember any of it. And I really don't know how to feel about it, but I guess it makes sense that your brain would always be doing the same thing when you sleep.
The idea is it's your subconscious mind trying to resolve whatever went on in your day, and at night it's your subconscious sort of internalizing things. That's the whole purpose of your dreams. If you're going to go back to like Sigmund Freud psychology here. Yeah, you can go nuts trying to interpret dreams. That's something that's been done since biblical days. And Joseph in the Old Testament, he gets in trouble for interpreting dreams. That's why his brothers send him off to Egypt. So it's a practice as old as time, trying to figure out what dreams mean. Yeah, I can kind of relate to the movie when it talks about sedation. Like if I ever take a sleeping pill or something, like I don't know I'm dreaming then, right? If I do, I don't know. Of course, this raises a question about psychology, right? Is this old school psychology or psychiatry? Is it chemical reactions in our brain that cause us to dream? Right? Interesting questions both ways. Yeah, good movies. Good movies make us talk about stuff like this, and they raise these types of questions. So Inception seems to be a winner. So let me, before we call it a day, let me just really quickly show you guys what I want you to do the rest of the week. So I'm not going to make you watch any movies while I'm gone. When we pick it back up on Wednesday, the 29th, we'll start The Exorcist. I'll decide what movies I'm going to cut to make up for our lost time. I haven't decided yet. If you guys go to content All of these grammar reviews are up. Usually, like I post like a little video or a PowerPoint or something, and then you go and take a quiz on it. And I'm making all these quizzes due a week from now, next Monday, 11:59. Each one of these counts the same as a discussion post grading. So all of them are worth 10 points each. I thought that it would do you guys good to do these just because I noticed a lot of grammar mistakes in those first couple of papers, in that first paper. So go and do those and see if, how you do with them. So as well as work on your second paper. Second paper will also be due a week from now. I'm not asking you guys to do any watch any movies over the next week, but you'll mostly be more busy writing your papers. Okay. So do you guys have any questions about anything about what to do for the next week? Everything pretty clear? Okay, so probably tomorrow while I'm en route, I'll probably send you guys a bunch of discussion grades back. And Flora, I'm still thinking about you. I'm still going to get back to you. I've just past couple of days, I just haven't been able to stand being near a computer, but I'm going to get back to you, Flora. So don't fear.
All right.
Yeah, I'm not a. Yeah, I just had to. Some days I just go through that. Like I just want to spend the weekend not looking at any screen at all.
I wasn't expecting it to be like over the weekend because I know that's your day off.
Right. Yeah, I will. I will try to get to you this evening, Flora. But yeah, if you guys have any questions or want to run something by me over the next week, I'll of course have my email up. So don't hesitate to reach out. But now I'll miss you guys over the next week. You guys are my fun class, so I will miss seeing you all for the next 2 days. She will be plenty busy in my absence, working on stuff. So, well, let me make sure I got everybody who might have come in late before I close the call. Laura, you came in. Anybody else pop in late? All right, guys. Well, take it easy. I'll see you all next time.